But yeah, in the 1600s, 1700s, a lot of people used to go to jail for owing debt. They had what they called debtor prisons. Well, in 1833, at least in the United States, debtor prisons were abolished. It was outlawed. You couldn't do it anymore. So between 1883 and the 1970s, bill collectors were kind of having a free-for-all. They would use whatever means necessary. Hello everyone, I hope your day is going well. Hey, I want to mix it up a little bit today and talk about debt collections and billing just in general. And the reason why I want to do this is because there are some businesses out there that feel a little bit apprehensive about placing their accounts receivable, whether it is billing or debt collections, with a third-party billing and debt collections firm because they have concerns about what that will do for their reputation. Now, instead of me saying, oh, you just have to trust us, we're not like that, I think it would be better to give you a brief history of debt collections in general. And I think you would be better equipped to make up your own mind whether or not you think that'd be a fit for your business. So the first thing that I hear about from an average everyday person is debtor prisons. They want to know about them. Can people be put in jail for owing debt? Now, I think the only debt that you can be put in jail for these days is like back child support or something like that. And I don't even think that's in every state. I think it's just in a few states. But yeah, in the 1600s, 1700s, a lot of people used to go to jail for owing debt. They had what they called debtor prisons. Well, in 1833, at least in the United States, debtor prisons were abolished. It was outlawed. You couldn't do it anymore. So between 1883 and the 1970s, bill collectors were kind of having a free-for-all. They would use whatever means necessary to collect debts from a consumer that owed money to their business or to a business that had contracted them to go out and recover a past due balance. And you can imagine there were a variety of different styles to get that done. But for the most part, they were being verbally abusive because it was a lot more efficient to pick up the phone and make phone calls, and I guess they would threaten people. Now, I didn't get into the industry until 1985 for the first time. So by that time, which 7 years earlier than that in 1978, the FDCPA was enacted. So debt collectors were no longer allowed to use abusive language or harassment to get the consumer to satisfy a past due debt. But instead of me going into great detail about the FDCPA, what it encompasses, it's good to just do a Google search, look it up for yourself. It's not a big, huge stack of regulations and requirements and things like that. You could just read it in probably less than 5 minutes and gain a pretty good understanding of what is expected and what is forbidden. Now, of course, there were a lot of old school collectors that maybe they didn't comply right away to those new rules and regulations. Well, then when did the industry start to really change? So right around 1988, about 10 years later, caller ID became pretty commonplace. And that kind of leveled the playing field between consumers and bill collectors. So consumers knew who was calling. They could prove how many times they were called. So it was a lot easier for them to be able to prove that they were being harassed. So debt collection companies started to become concerned about the behaviors, even more concerned, I'd say, than they were prior to that, because they became more open to like lawsuits that were filed on behalf or by the consumer themselves. Well, then the next thing that happened was the internet, and that started getting very popular in the 1990s. By the early 2000s, anybody could reverse a number, get an address to a business. Well, actually in the 90s and early 2000s, it really leveled the playing field between consumers and debt collectors because they could actually go to their office and confront them in person. And this actually did happen sometimes. So I think from there, debt collectors, those old school debt collectors, they just started to leave the industry. But that isn't really what cleaned up the industry. What really cleaned up the industry was kind of in the early 2000s. A lot of compliance controls were put in place. There was a whole industry based around compliance in the debt collection industry where they could record phone calls, they could record every keystroke that was done on a computer, because it not only was important to the debt collection company to avoid expensive lawsuits, but it was also important to them to have a healthy culture within their business. So with all that being said, just in the last 10 years, a more customer service yet stern approach with consumers has pretty much been commonplace. So to get a sense of how many bad collectors are out there, I would say if you have 1 million debt collectors in the United States, probably 100 of them still need to be weeded out, and they're probably not going to last much longer. But if you'd like to talk more about this, give me a call, send me an email. I'd be happy to talk about my personal history and go into a little more detail as far as what the FDCPA covers. And of course, if I can help you get in a better place than you are today, then I certainly want to be available for that. But as always, take care, be well, be safe, and don't take any unnecessary risk. I hope to talk with a lot of you soon. Hello, Sean Martin, Director of Business Engagement. So if you like this video, be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube. But don't forget to visit our website, check out the services we have to offer. Essentially, Partners Financial Services is a full-service accounts receivable management firm. So we specialize in billing, loan servicing, and debt collections. Some of the industries that we serve are the education industry, everything from a proprietary school all the way up to a college, university, higher educational level. Also banking, financial institutions, credit unions, and then a handful of miscellaneous industries that we do some debt collections for. So yeah, give us a call, send us an email, let us know what you have in mind, and we can see if our services can line up with your objectives and help you get in a better place than you are today.